Hello, I'm Sergius Barretto.
And I'm Rishaad Mody.
And welcome to Deep Drive, our weekly podcast powered by Kotak Mahindra Prime. Now, as you've probably guessed already, this week's podcast is going to be about cars and bikes. And we have Rishaad, our bike editor, with us. And the podcast is really about you because it is your questions answered. Yes, as you know, very often we do recap, look back at some of the questions you keep sending to us, and we try our best to answer most of them, if not all. Apologies for those of you whose questions we aren't able to answer, but please do keep them coming. It does mean a lot to us. So we're going to dive straight into the questions. And Rishaad, I'm going to fire away with maybe a bike question.
Let's go.
The first one, and this is very, very recent. Everyone wants to know, how will the trade agreements, the recently announced ones, well, not the announced ones, but let's say the talked about ones, because we don't have details as yet, between the US and the EU, help bikes sold in India?
Well, I hate to be the bearer of disappointing news. And while social media is full of, free trade agreement and EU, FTA and whatever.
Including us, we're also quite excited, right?
It's not really going to do that much, at least for motorcycles,
Okay.
as far as I see. With the EU FTA, there hasn't been a mention of bikes so far, but we also haven't seen the entire document. It's been more of a press release from both the sides. Let's see what comes in there. There may be something for bikes.
Right.
But even if there is, everything in India essentially comes from Thailand or Japan, and almost nothing is coming from Europe except the really super premium Ducatis, which are like the Super Leggera Panigales, which are like 80 lakh rupees and 1 crore rupees and things like that.
Those that sell one or two.
Yeah, which literally 1 or 2 units will come to the country.
Right.
And everything else is made in Thailand from Ducati. Same goes for Triumph. BMW, a large majority of the bikes coming from there as well. So it's not really going to benefit anything. And if it does, it'll be these really expensive bikes that may get slightly less really expensive, With America as well, we've had the new trade deal that we just signed. There's only Polaris and Harley-Davidson.
Right.
Polaris is in its own state of affairs right now, with Indian having sold them to somebody else. That new owner has shut down a particular one of the factories over there. We don't know exactly how it's going to pan out. Polaris has an extremely limited operation in India.
Okay.
They don't even have an official showroom in Mumbai. And they sell very limited units in any case.
Right.
Now, how it's going to progress after this, nobody really knows. We're going to have to wait and see. So, yeah, maybe something could happen with Polaris.
Okay, but what about Harley-Davidsons? Because, yes, they do come from Thailand. We do have, an India-Thailand agreement as well, and which is why a lot of companies have been doing this. But there must be some Harley-Davidsons in the US that they could bring here, right? Which are made in the US and not in Thailand?
Well, the situation is that every single Harley that is available in India is coming from Thailand.
Okay.
So maybe if they decide to bring something like a live wire electric bike or something that's being manufactured out there, perhaps then we will get some benefits of it. But I don't see Harley in shifting from one free trade agreement region to another free trade agreement region. It won't really benefit them. So there's not going to be much of a change there because they already come in from Thailand.
Right. And you're probably right. You have to remember also that it's not just, buying from a shop. It's a whole setup there, right? Yeah, it's an operation.
Yeah.
You've got certain volume planning. You've got vendors supplying things.
Allocations for different markets and planned out a year in advance, if not more.
Right. So if at all a shift were to happen, it would also take some time.
Yes. For Europe, MV Agusta is one brand that's not available in India. So where do we benefit? Unless someone brings MV Agusta to India, that would have to be MV themselves. KTM is another option, but now KTM is in its own situation altogether. They're trying to restructure. Bajaj is now the owner of KTM. Whether Bajaj sees it being worthwhile to import a few units from Europe, perhaps. But then again, this FTA is at least a year to 18 months away from being finalized, signed and put in place. And by that time, who knows how KTM evolves? We know that Bajaj is going to want to bring more operation to India. That will be a 2-year process in itself. So maybe we just have locally manufactured bikes that we can buy here. Not the entire range, but I would see that being the priority for Bajaj rather than thinking that, we should bring in bikes from Europe. They'd rather be focusing on moving the operation down to India.
So, before we move to any car questions, which you have the sheet, right?
Have a big
one. There's one, maybe a kind of connected question here on KTM. Since you mentioned KTM, I just thought I'd take this one up. We have from some of our users that's want to know, why don't KTM make scooters like Aprilia? performance brand.
Yes.
Performance.
KTM has always shied away from scooters. They've done these little electric free ride sort of things, which is this for off-road riding in small areas, electric. They did have some electric concepts. We, in fact, saw one out testing about 3 years ago. And there was this internal document that revealed that, there was a new platform being developed for Husqvarna KTM EVs that was going to be done in India. Again, now KTM's situation is completely different. But I'm sure that platform will probably see the light of day because Bajaj is going really big into EVs. That question says, why don't they put one of the nice engines in a scooter? I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
I don't think KTM themselves would have done it. And now I'm sure that Bajaj won't because Bajaj themselves don't make any combustion scooters. They have dedicated EV to scooter. It's how Bajaj brought the scooter back, and I don't think they're going to do a combustion one. So if they're not going to do it for themselves, I really don't see them doing it for KTM. There probably will be scooters from them, but they'll be electric.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So we have your questions here.
Right,
if
sure.
we can move on.
Yeah, of course.
The flavor of the season is the Duster.
It is.
I have more than one Duster question here. We'll start with the first one, which is, do you have any information regarding the drivetrain of the hybrid version, and particularly how does it work?
Yeah, so actually it's a very interesting question, because it is a strong hybrid. Now, what we mean by strong hybrid is that the car can run on electric power only. You do have mild hybrids like Maruti had, long back actually introduced this mild hybrid concept.
Yeah, SHVS.
Yeah, exactly. Which was essentially there is a motor there, but it can only assist the engine. The engine has to be running all of the time. The engine's not going to shut down at any time and, transfer to the motor. The motor is just too small. The Duster is a strong hybrid, will motor along on electric power only. But it's very unique in how it works because it's actually got two motors, right? So you have what you call an integrated starter generator. You would have probably heard this term very
We get
familiar.
them in bikes as well now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a smaller motor, which Honda also had on one of their old Civics. It can assist the engine only, right? And it can charge the battery. So when you're coasting, for example, right, when you're lifting off, coasting, braking, etc., it can charge the battery. So that's one motor. It's about, I think, 20 horsepower motor is what's there on that. They've also got another motor, right, which is the main motor. Now, the main motor, what that does is essentially it does all of the EV operations. So it's a larger motor. In fact, I think the horsepower is 49 horsepower, right? Now, that essentially is the guy that powers the vehicle, right? It's the one doing all the heavy lifting, and it also recharges the battery, right? Now you'll ask, but okay, why are there two motors, right? So both these guys are doing essentially the same thing. Yes, they both
are charging the battery.
Are charging the battery. One of them does EV only mode, but the integrated starter motor, the smaller guy, that is quite interesting because it also has a few other functions. Now, what they've done very interestingly, they don't use a CVT gearbox.
Good.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
Okay. So they actually have a regular gearbox, but with dog clutches.
Okay.
You might have heard of dog clutches, which is essentially on a racing gearbox. There's no synchronizer, which uses friction to sort of match the speeds. It's a dog clutch. It's like bites, the teeth just bite into, and you hear that, slam noise if it's done very rapidly. So they use a dog clutch. Now, to essentially make the, I would say the mating of those two, the dog clutch smoother, that's where that integrated starter motor comes in. It sort of functions as a synchronizer.
Yeah, it's like a synchro mesh. Basically.
Exactly. Okay. It functions as a synchro mesh.
Okay.
It will enable the speeds to match, and so there's a smoother engagement of the gearbox. So using a dog clutch to get that direct drive and that solid connection, but without that harsh sort of engagement.
Is it also doing a bit of a torque fill thing like we see in the supercars?
And that's the next bit it can also do. Awesome. Yes, absolutely. So in the transfer between the main motor and the internal combustion, it can also fill in to smoothen things out. So it's actually got kind of four roles, the integrated starter motor. For one, in fact, the fourth one, sorry, I didn't mention also, it's also used as a start-stop, right, as it says, when the engine shuts down. So it's doing the start-stop function, right? It is doing the assist mode. It's doing regeneration, and it's also doing the synchronizer function for the dog clutch. So that's essentially what this second small motor is doing. Now, why have Renault done this? Well, I mean, Renault say there are benefits, and as in all things, there are benefits and drawbacks to everything. they say that they can use a dog clutch gearbox, which is more efficient, right? It's more natural feeling compared to a CVT, right? And with the secondary motor, they're taking care of, the drawbacks. So let's see how it all works.
Is it going to be all-wheel drive, or is the second electric motor make it all-wheel drive?
So no, right now there is just a two-wheel drive version, but there are all-wheel drive versions internationally, and you could see, and we did break this news last time, you could see an e-axle only rear.
Right.
Because
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they also do have, funnily enough, they also have a propeller shaft driven one. So you have a proper sort of...
Wow. So lots of options. Basically.
Lots of options available, yeah.
I loved the old Duster back in the day. I thought it had the best chassis, incredible highway stability, great brakes. I'm very excited about what this one ends up.
Same here, waiting to drive it.
Yeah. So. Okay, so let's stay on Duster.
Yes. Okay.
Another question. What is the boot space for the strong hybrid? With the High Rider and the Victorious, the boot is really small, about 250 liters, which I think is a deal breaker. So which the question says is a deal breaker. So what is the boot space here?
Yeah, actually, it's a very interesting question. You've seen our long-termers also, right? Yeah. I'm sure you've seen the hybrids.
Yeah.
They've got the battery residing inside of the boot.
Like a CNG.
Yeah, like a CNG, much smaller than the CNG tank, but it's inside the boot, right? So, yeah, the hybrid versions of the Grand Vitara, of the High Rider, the Victorious, you do lose a lot of boot space because of that. And I get the question, would that happen to the Duster? Well, Renault says no, because the battery is packaged below the boot flow. Of course, the boot flow has risen. It has risen. But I was looking at the UK specs. The Dacia also has the hybrid system. And over there, and I have that written down somewhere here, it's 517 liters for the non-hybrid Dacia and 430 liters on the hybrid.
Still a good number.
Yeah. Exactly. So it is less, but it's still a very good number, 430. So it is well clear of, let's say the Grand Vitara and things like that. So they've packaged it rather cleverly.
Right.
They've managed to do that. And yeah, I think hats off to them. Waiting to see, the car again in India. Like we said, we've only seen these and they've had the announcements, but yeah.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
Sure.
Should we finish the Duster topic with the last question?
Okay, sure.
Yeah?
You're on a roll there.
I'm on a roll at Duster. I love hearing about this car. A smaller 1300cc engine on the Duster has been tuned to give 163 horsepower and 280 Nm. Is there a drawback to this? I think he's saying a small engine, big power.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is remarkable actually if you think about it. A 1.3 liter engine developing so much power, right? You can extract a lot more from an engine. And yes, you're right. I mean, theoretically or generally speaking, the more you extract from a smaller engine, the more stress the engine is. You're putting more sort of load on, combustion. Temperature goes up, pressure, revs, things like that. So everything is more. That's why a race engine, on a car or bike doesn't last that very long, because they produce immense amount of power, but everything is stressed to the maximum. But obviously, this is a passenger car engine. Yeah. Renault have taken into account longevity, service life and things like that. And we mustn't forget that there are modern manufacturing techniques just every day coming into it, right? So whether it's materials, whether it's better manufacturing for closer tolerances, you are able to extract more today while keeping the reliability and the service life the same, thanks to modern techniques. So I think, if you're worried about things like service life and the age and the aging of the engine, you shouldn't be, because this isn't a race engine. Right, it's one meant for the road, and I'm sure Renault, like every other manufacturer, has sort of that in mind. There are other drawbacks, of course, maybe like when you do engines like this, it's turbocharged. So you go small capacity, you turbocharge it, you will drop in fuel efficiency for a couple of reasons. One is because the smaller the engine and more power, the narrower the sweet spot tends to be in terms of where it's most efficient. All engines, internal combustion engines, have a sweet spot where they're most efficient. You rev it too less, also they can be more thirsty, more thirsty. So the sweet spot tends to narrow. And also the turbocharger, a turbocharged petrol engine, if you drive it with a slightly heavy foot, and I mean even slightly heavy foot, they can be notoriously inefficient. They have to be driven with a very precise sort of band, because there's a thing called knocking. So an engine tends to knock. You would have heard the sound, ping, ping, the detonation, absolutely. Now that happens when the temperature inside the combustion chamber rises too much, and the fuel ignites before it's supposed to ignite. Now, modern engines, they can sort of compensate for this by retarding the ignition timing, but there's only so much you can do with ignition timing. In a turbocharged engine, because you're raising the pressure even more and the temperature even more, you can't go beyond, the ignition timing window. So what they do is they inject a little extra fuel to cool it. Absolutely. To cool, the combustion thing inside, to bring it into the actual temperature that it needs to. Great, that problem solved, but you've wasted fuel.
Yeah.
So that's one of the drawbacks of a turbocharged. Any turbocharged engine, you need to drive it with a very, very precise throttle input.
All right.
So I think that does it for the Duster questions, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then let's just move on to some bike questions. And we've got something from BSA.
Okay.
Any idea if BSA will launch their Scrambler 650 and the Thunderbolt 350 in India? I guess the Thunderbolt 350 is also the Bantam 350?
So Bantam 350 is based on the Java 42.
Okay.
That platform. And Thunderbolt is the new adventure bike that they showed off at EICMA this year. I mean, when I'm 2025.
So my question is also, I'll add to this question is, will the Bantam also come in the 350?
So
any of these bikes?
When you say will BSA launch, you mean to ask will Classic Legends launch? Because Classic Legends has split it up into these two brands. There's three brands. There's Java and Yazdi in India. And the focus is on BSA is largely international. My understanding is that the BSA in India, the business for BSA in India is focused on the 650s. So absolutely, the Scrambler is going to come this year.
Okay.
We've already reported that it is coming this year. It's going to be based on the Gold Star, just a little different visuals and maybe a slightly different riding experience with a larger front wheel. Should be nice to ride on our roads. And one of the few complaints we had was the rear suspension on the Gold Star. It was a little too soft and squishy. This hopefully will be nicer. I don't think the Thunderbolt is coming to India, but not as this form. This Thunderbolt previews what the next gen Yazdi adventure could be, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that it may not come to India as a BSA, but we'll see something on that new platform that they showed off, which is lighter than, significantly lighter. They're talking about a 15-20 kg weight saving. So I think that's going to come to India, but may not be as a BSA Thunderbolt, because the smaller capacity is going to be the space of Java and Yazdi, and the 650 is going to be the BSA space in India.
So basically like a platform sharing is what you're saying.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
They did do the Thunderbolt, but as a Java.
Like the Bantam in UK is effectively a restyled Java 42 that we get here. So why bring the Bantam here as well?
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you seem to be the bearer of bad news.
I know, so far, not so far.
I think I have another question for you that I think would go the same way.
All right.
Which is TVS planning on launching electric bikes? Of course, they have the N-Talk.
Yeah.
But is there some upgrade or better bikes coming from TVS?
Look, it's going to happen for sure. I don't think it's going to happen very soon. Now, there are a couple of things to consider. One, TVS showed off a high-performance electric concept at EICMA this year. There will absolutely be something that they're developing on that, but that is not going to come very soon. There's also the fact that, as we reported in our last podcast, in fact, Ketan broke the news right here, that TVS is developing an electric bike for Africa. Because the African market is slowly starting to explore into the EV space. And right now, it's only being addressed in that, that budget segment. It's only being addressed by Chinese products.
Right.
So TVS sees potential there. So they are working on something. Perhaps it may debut in Africa first. Because right now, the Indian EV market is more focused on scooters. There are a couple of motorcycles out there that are very minimal. The large numbers are all scooters. So yes, TVS is absolutely working on something. They're working on something at both ends of the spectrum. But you are looking for something to upgrade from your N-Talk, and you may be in for a bit of a wait when it comes to that.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. So that's that on...
Should we hop back to our car?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right.
Sure.
All right. This is a Toyota question for you. Why is Toyota planning to discontinue the Crysta next year when it has two strong hybrid models and a range of models with CNG powertrain as well to compensate for these diesel vehicles? I think he's talking about the emissions constraints.
Yeah.
If so, then why doesn't Mahindra face the same challenges when almost all their core vehicles are diesel?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good question, actually. So first of all, yes, Toyota, they will be narrowing the diesel portfolio for sure. We know that because of emissions, we know that as well. Another question is, why don't they carry it on? They have hybrids to offset the CAFE. The thing is, it's not enough. right? CAFE is the fleet average of your emissions. Now, they do have hybrids, but it's not enough because you do need electrics, which Mahindra has and which Toyota.
They're selling good numbers off as well.
Yeah, they've picked up, absolutely. So Mahindra, yes, the core is all diesels. They do have petrols, but hardly anyone buys maybe the petrols. So they sell a lot of diesels, but they do have electrics as well. And Toyota, unfortunately, have been very slow. They and their partners, Suzuki. In fact, as we speak, we've seen the
Bhalla.
And
interesting
the
name.
e-Vitara. Yeah, interesting name. E-Bhalla and the e-Vitara. We've driven them both. We've seen them at the expo. They've had their unveils, but we don't have a prices yet. They're not yet launched, right? So they're taking their own sweet time with this. And one
This is the Japanese thing. It's happened in the scooter space in India as well.
Right.
Suzuki let us ride their new e-Access last year in the start of the year. And a whole year went by until we got a price just now. And the price was way too high.
So yeah, I think that's going to be a very similar story with this one too, right? This car I think is going to be a little pricier than people might expect. So I mean, a lot of people are very excited also. Of course, Maruti entering EVs, you would think, wow, affordable EVs. People were talking about, will this be India's Tesla moment or the Maruti reborn again and things like that, but I don't think so. I mean, I'm quite sure so. It's not going to be the case. It is an SUV, first of all. It's not something like a cheaper car. So, So, I mean, coming back to the question, they are going slow with their EVs. So, they don't have the benefit of electrics.
So, they just have to get rid of the...
Yeah, absolutely. So, they can't keep that. Plus, of course, you also have to remember, even if you do have the electrics and you want to keep the diesels, your diesel also has to match the more stringent emission norms. So that calls for more investments in, keeping it cleaner and cleaner. So at some point, it's always a balance, right?
Yeah.
How much can you produce, volume sold and things like that. So it's like a game of chess, actually. It's not, 1:1 in any...
it's interesting how you said that the industry was expecting this to be the big moment. We had the very same thing with the Japanese two-wheelers for EVs in India. Everyone was waiting for Honda to come in and it would change things. Right. But it was a complete disappointment and it hasn't sold much at all for obvious reasons. It's very expensive. So the Japanese manufacturers have effectively gifted the Indian industry a year or two of no competition.
Right.
That was expected. Everyone was thinking that when they come in, the tables are going to turn, the pressure is going to be on. And it didn't happen. And it looks like it's a similar story here.
No, absolutely. And that brings me to another question here, actually, which is related to electrics and Japanese, and which is Yamaha. So a lot of people want to know why, first of all, Yamaha products more costly. Yeah. And a lot of people have asked us actually questions on the new Yamaha, which is let me get this right, the EC06, right?
Perfect.
Which is the River Indy, I think, shared platform kind of thing. So, first of all, what's the differences? Why is it more expensive?
It's a really interesting story. Yamaha first invested in River, I think in 2024.
Okay. So they are stakeholders.
Yes, as I think not in a way that Hero owns a large stake of River and Ultraviolet, TVS and Ultraviolet. This is not this similar thing. They invested in them, and then they started looking into the company and saw that this company is doing things really interestingly. And both companies then started to work together, and there was a long audit process from Yamaha looking at their design process, their engineering process, their production processes, their supplier base. And as they went along, Yamaha, turns out, was pleasantly surprised by what was going on here. And they saw potential in creating this collaboration to bring something to the market quickly. They've done something similar in Taiwan with another very famous startup they called Gogoro. Okay. Gogoro made news. Like they were the cool it thing in Taiwan five odd years ago. And now that's happening here. So Yamaha has a history of doing this. It's not something they've done here first. And I think it's a good move because like we say, the Japanese are slow in their own processes, but they realize that the agility of a startup could bring results out fast out. Now, the differences between the two on paper, well, mechanically, they're pretty much the same because you start changing fundamentals on the chassis and the powertrain that creates the timelines that you are trying to avoid by collaborating with the startup. Visually, there are a lot of differences. I saw the two side by side of the factory just now. I just visited the River headquarters in Bengaluru, and every panel, every angle of the scooter is different. And Yamaha has gone for a sleeker look where they wanted to look. The River is a large scooter.
Yeah.
And it's utility oriented, and it's got massive boot space, and it's got big space in the front.
SUV of scooters is what they've been.
Yeah, very cleverly, and it really is that. It is a great utility oriented scooter with nice style and a feel good factor. Yamaha's sacrificed boot space, removed the front trunk. So it's more of a conventional scooter, but a stylish looking thing. And to me, it actually looks more mass appeal than the River. Yeah. The River is a little quirky.
It is, yeah.
This is going, someone's going to walk into a Yamaha showroom, look at that and like it. And I think that is a win. It's also slightly different in the specifications, as in the claim numbers. So the battery pack and the powertrain are the same, but the River has a 10 kph lower top speed. The River has a slightly higher range. The River also takes much longer to charge. Now, these questions are they're a little strange. Why is this happening? And I met the company founders and we discussed, and it just turns out that Yamaha is being conservative. So they've said, look, 80 is a good enough top speed. We don't need your 90 kph top speed. Right. They've capped it at 80. The offset to that is slightly higher range when exactly. Yeah. The charging speed. River has two chargers. One is a 700 odd watt charger, one is a 480 watt charger. There is just a 2,500 rupee difference between the two of them when you're buying the scooter. You can pick. So everyone's going for the 780 watt. But Yamaha said, we'll take the slower charger. Again, less stress on the charging systems and things like that, right? When you're charging. Doesn't look good on the spec sheet. I think a 10-hour charging time is too slow. And I think that Yamaha will slowly change that.
Okay.
And then there's the price difference. And obviously, generally, when there's like a Renault Nissan or something, one of them is going to be a little more expensive than the other. Right. So this is about 22,000 rupees more expensive than the River.
Right.
But despite all this and despite the negative press that the Yamaha is getting online for these spec differences, I think it's a really good looking scooter. And it's sold through the Yamaha dealership network. You're getting Yamaha support.
Right.
And it should do well.
Right. And I think also it's in going with a typical legacy automaker where they will play very, very safe. They want to make sure everything is absolutely okay. Whereas startups, we have seen, bikes and cars for that matter, will, push the envelope a little more. We've seen this with cars as well. I mean, take a look at Tesla. It was very interesting. I attended the Mercedes S-Class launch and they were talking about how they added more cameras, more radars, ultrasonic sensors to the car. And you have Tesla on the other hand saying that knocking out everything and going only with cameras.
Right.
Right. So yeah, it is a fundamental approach difference. I think, Mercedes says, no, absolutely not. You need redundancy. It's important. Yes, you can rely on cameras. They can do 99% of the work. But what about for that 1%, little really case, edge case? And for that other 1% where it might fail, you need redundancy. An aircraft has 5 levels of redundancy. Shouldn't a car have at least 2,
Especially when they're going autonomous.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I suppose that answers that query as well.
There was another point about why Yamaha bikes are expensive?
Just in general, why are they costlier compared to competitors? Is that the case even, Rishaad?
It effectively is. Look, Yamaha, from their very inception, has positioned themselves as a premium brand.
Right.
I mentioned this in the last podcast as well that we did. Their very first bike was positioned as a premium product when it came out 75 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Their very, very first motorcycle. So that's who they are.
Right.
And there is this Japanese engineering approach that, for all its negatives of taking time, also gives you a highly engineered product that is not just reliable, but also, really good at what it does. Let's take the example of an R15 or an MT15 or the XSR15. Yes, it is expensive for a 150cc bike, but it's also giving you things that you don't get on any other 150cc bike. You're getting liquid cooling, you're getting more performance than the rest, you're getting quick shifters, and so they are giving you a premium product and they're asking you for more money, and that's just the way it's going to be with Yamaha. Their products are reliable, they're solid, proven products. I do think that the quality of the plastics and things that has been Indianized over the last few years, and you do notice a perceptive drop in the quality of those things compared to the bikes that used to come out in 2010 and 2012 and the first gen R15s. But they're still high quality aspirational products, and that has a price.
You get what you pay now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have another question for you, and then maybe we'll switch back to cars. and this one is on the Gixxer series and the V-Strom bikes, the 250 from Suzuki. So a lot of, actually, this is one question I'm going to read out, but a lot of people have written in with the similar question saying, why is there this parts availability issue? And we're hearing this everywhere, right? Is this because they're going to wind down these bikes and, maybe just do scooters in the lower end? And why is this issue here?
Let's acknowledge it. There is a parts availability issue.
Correct. We're seeing the many questions.
We've seen the questions, and I've had someone in our office who owned a V-Strom 250
Right.
and who said the same thing. It's just simple things aren't available, brake pads and things like that. You look at Suzuki's lineup, over 1 lakh units a month, and about 2,000 of them are motorcycles.
Right.
It's all scooters. The scooter is what Suzuki is in India. The good news is that they're not going to discontinue these bikes. In fact, we just broke the exclusive news about a month ago that there's a new generation of Gixxers coming likely at the end of this year.
Okay.
150, 250. They are trying to breathe fresh air into this space of theirs. And generally, when the Gixxers are done, then the V-Strom will follow because it's on the same 250cc platform. So the V-Strom is likely to get updated maybe next year. They are coming, and hopefully Suzuki addresses this issue, because if you build a reputation amongst the community that, your bikes are nice, but I can't get good spare parts support, people tend to move away from it, and that reputation has been building. So this is something they need to address as well and be aware of as they bring out this new generation of bikes, that the overall buying experience for a Suzuki motorcycle needs to be nicer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we move back to cars?
Sure.
We've got a Kia question.
Okay.
Does the Seltos have the scope to break the sales chart records set by the Creta? Also, can it get a 5-star rating due to the new platform?
Okay, so kind of two questions there. And yeah, a lot of people have asked these questions also online in terms of the safety bit. The first question, can it take on the Creta? I mean, I think that's the $1 million question. Who, if anyone, can take on the Creta, right? We've had this, and I know we've been guilty of it also, saying, is this the Creta killer, Creta fighter? Everyone wants to fight the Creta, the segment king in there. It's always held its ground. Will it do it this year? Frankly, I really don't know, because on one hand, yes, the Seltos has moved to the new generation. As you know, the Creta and the Seltos are sister cars. They share the platform, completely different top hats and insides, of course. But they have always shared the platform. However, right now, the Seltos has moved a generation ahead. It's on a newer platform. The Creta is a step behind. It will also move there, and that's coming up maybe as soon as maybe another 12 odd months. So it's a year away, let's say,
right,
at best. So that will also move to the new platform. Will this older platform car sort of lose to the Seltos? Maybe not, because the Seltos, it's also having to fight now a lot of other new entrants also. You've got the Sierra that's coming. You've got the Duster. I mean, everyone's talking about the Duster. We've had so many questions about it. So suddenly there's a lot more players in there. The buyers are going to get fragmented. So I don't know if the Seltos will mop up all of the sales. It just might be that, the Seltos will obviously sell a lot, but the Sierra will sell some amount. The Duster will sell some amount as well. The Tecton, the Nissan version of the Duster, that's also there. So Kushaq's been refreshed. Everyone's going to be refreshed. So therefore, I don't think the Seltos will go past the Creta, unless Creta really drops crazy. Because see, you have to remember, just because this is newer, it doesn't mean the Creta is now suddenly a bad product. The Creta is still a very fundamentally well-sorted product, very sound. We all love it in the office. Yeah. I think you as well. I mean, whenever you need a car.
I've been spending some time on the Alcazar recently also. Wow.
Exactly.
It's a nice car to be in. It's a nice car to drive.
Exactly.
Great feature comfort.
Yeah. So it's a tall task. I don't think Creta sales are going to drop like drastically because of the new Seltos. In terms of the second part of the question was what
safety. Will it get a 5-star rating with this new platform?
Right. So the first thing is, getting a 5-star crash rating is not necessarily a function of only the platform. Yes, a platform is the fundamental, it's the bones of a vehicle, and strong bones equals to let's say a strong car. And I love to say this because you have too many of these social media influencers and YouTubers going around pressing the body panels on the car, saying, oh look, it's so soft and it's flexing on the fender and it'll crash. And that's not the structure that's taking up the energy. Yes, some amount of energy is going in there, minuscule. the energy that's really engineered to sort of take is the monocoque, the shell inside, right? I mean, that is what is required to take up all of that energy. So yes, a good newer platform will help in a crash test. The old cars, they were built on the K2 platform. The new one is the K3 platform. Now, the K2 Seltos didn't do well, as in I think it got a 3-star or something in our test, in the NCAP test here, the GNCAP. But that doesn't mean that platform was inherently weak. It is not because of the platform. It's because Kia chose to not sort of engineer it or spec it enough for that rating.
Right.
If you look at the Hyundai Bayon, that's a car that's built on the K2 platform. And in the Euro NCAP, the current test, which is quite a stringent test, it got a 4-star rating, right? So you can do stuff like that. So it's really more about the will of a company to engineer it for a crash test. Now, will this new one meet crash test? Yes, it will. Will it? Because that's the law, right? And we have a fairly good baseline. But will it score a 5-star? I really don't know.
Yeah.
It really depends what Kia has decided. To aim for and engineer for, because remember, it comes at a cost. So my gut is probably yes, because I think if they really got the ear to the ground, they will realize that people are really conscious of this.
It's become a big deal now.
I
don't think you can ignore it anymore.
Exactly. And I mean, even 4-star, if you look at it, even NCAP, GNCAP, I was talking to the GNCAP engineers, and they said, yeah, even a 4-star car is a good car. It's a safe car. But in India, some of people are like, yeah, we want 5 stars, right? So
why not? I mean,
yeah, I suppose, and why not?
Without conditions and the
fair enough.
Statistical probability of something going wrong on our roads, why not?
So yeah, it really boils down to that. The chances are that it will, like I said, because yes, it's a newer platform, but Kia should also be hopefully keeping the ear to the ground and engineer it for a 5-star.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another question. And following your question, I have another similar company to talk about.
Okay.
The question is Chery coming to India. Chery, the Chinese company Chery.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And I will follow up on another Chinese bike company that a lot of people have been asking us about.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, exactly. I know what you're talking about. I have that here. Okay, so is Chery coming to India? Yes and no.
Okay.
So we broke the story. It was our exclusive, as you know, of the Jetour T2 that's going to come to India. JSW are bringing it to India. Now, Jetour is Chery, right? A part of the Chery company in China. However, it's going to be coming to India as a JSW. JSW are going to brand it as a JSW something, whatever. They're going to have their own brand name, their own model name. It's not going to carry any of the Chinese names. So it's not going to be Jetour, it's not going to be T2.
It won't be an MG either.
And it won't be an MG either. Yes, absolutely. It won't be an MG either. This is separate from the MG. JSW has invested in MG, yes, but this is their own sort of car business as well on the side. So it's very interesting setup. This is going to be a completely separate plant, separate dealers, basically a separate operation. So yes, in a way, Chery products are coming to India, right, via the Jetour T2. But is Chery brand coming to India? Probably not, because you have to remember they are Chinese, right? And we do have a sort of, I would say, a roadblock or a wall put up when it comes to Chinese makers. They do have to partner with Indian brands and such. So it might be a while that they come in, or they might decide, hey, maybe this is just a better way to go about doing it. Technology transfers rather than getting into the market directly.
Right. So there's a similar, similar story. It's actually a different story with the two-wheelers in India. There's a company called CFMoto, extremely popular, doing really well overseas, made a great name for itself, proving itself with reliable products, and they have some exciting bikes.
MotoGP as well, right?
In the Moto2 class, yes.
Moto2.
They actually invited us to ride a few of the bikes last year in Portugal. Right. We rode a couple of 675s, an 800. But the most exciting thing was the CFMoto 450, the MT 450, which is this adventure bike that's made waves worldwide. Good looking thing, twin cylinder engine, same price as an Indian made Himalayan, or even cheaper abroad, and the KTM-C90 Adventure. That bike was supposed to launch in India. We rode it in India.
Right.
And then it's all gone silent, and we keep getting this question.
Exactly. Everyone's asking, what's up?
The fact is that both sides have gone silent. Now, the local partner who we've been asked not to name, told us that there was a delay due to E20. The bike was supposed to be here in July. Then it became September. Then it became later. And it's still just gone quiet. And I am starting to get the idea that E20 is not perhaps the only complication. And it looks like maybe CFMoto is looking at other ways to come to the country. We are reaching out to try and get more information. But as of now, there is silence. And if it's such a long wait, it's not a good sign. But the company really sees the value in our market. And at the same time, they're also working on a collaboration with Royal Enfield. So I do believe that CFMoto is going to come here in some form or the other.
Okay.
But right now, it's this long, strange period of silence. So maybe they're looking at a new way of entering the market.
Got it.
And with the Chinese manufacturers, it's not easy to enter India.
Exactly.
So you need a strong local partner. And I think they're in the process of trying to find that.
So, Rishaad, that brings me to sort of a tied-in question where somebody had is the CFMoto 450 the same as the KTM? In fact, a lot of people are asking you this. Like the KTM 490, is it the same engine? And
there's a good reason for that confusion because KTM had a partnership in its original form with CFMoto, where CFMoto was manufacturing a bunch of bikes for them in China and sending them across the world, and this included 790s and things like that. Through that partnership, they also created a new RC, which was Spied in full production-ready form. We could tell that this was a CFMoto platform because you can look at the chassis, you can look at the swing arm, you can look at the engine header pipes and tell that it's based on the CFMoto 450, which has been on sale in Europe for a while. That is not what is being made in India.
Okay.
Again, there's the whole complication of how do you get a CFMoto product into India. We know that there's a new product coming out in India, being developed in Bajaj right now. That is a completely different platform.
Okay.
This is something that Bajaj is developing right now. Should debut, I think, towards the end of next year. Okay. And this will spawn a new family of twin-cylinder bikes that will also be seen quite likely on a Bajaj product in the future as well, whether it will be a Dominar or another line of motorcycles. But that's the new family and it has nothing to do with the CFMoto. So yes, there is an RC490 which hasn't gone on sale anywhere in the world. It's been spied, but it's not what is under development here.
Okay, so great. So that wraps up the bike questions.
I have one last one for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cars.
So we've got a Tata question.
Okay.
Is the Sierra going to have a hybrid powertrain?
Okay, so the answer to that question is, I would say yes. Right. Tata themselves have said that they are looking at it. They've not given any definitive sort of answer to this question. But they said, they're open to hybrids and wherever the market moves, the typical answer. But I think the biggest clue that the Sierra will be going the hybrid route is the 1.5 litre naturally aspirated engine. That engine runs the Atkinson cycle. Now, it's a different cycle from, the Miller, the Otto cycle. You have different cycles for combustion engine. And the Atkinson cycle specifically, it is sort of, I would say, perfectly in tune with a hybrid. The reason being that the Atkinson cycle, it delays the, closing valve, the intake valve closing, to reduce the sort of pumping losses that the energy required for that. And it makes the engine more efficient. You do lose more power though. Now, in a hybrid, this is what you want, right? You want efficiency. So great, you can use this, but you are losing power. But that's exactly where the hybrid can step in because the electric motor compensates for that loss in power. So they make a very good pairing, like when you do a strong hybrid, 1.5 naturally aspirated Atkinson cycle with this, just a perfect pairing. And so I think, Tata developed this engine with the hybrid in mind, right? Why did they put it out into the market without the hybrid assisting it? That's a question all of us have been asking because that car is slow. It is slow. I mean, we've tested it. We have the review up on our website as well. You do see that lack in power, that lack in performance, right? It's what it is. I mean, you are running the Atkinson cycle. You will be refined. It is. You will be efficient. Yes, but you're going to be really down on power, which is where the hybrid comes in. So I think they are looking at hybridizing that engine. There was no reason then to shift to a Atkinson cycle.
The Camry hybrid also an Atkinson cycle?
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. If you're doing a strong hybrid, as far as I know, at least all of these hybrids run the Atkinson cycle. So therefore, yes, the Tata Sierra should be getting a hybrid very soon. A, because the market wants it, and because, well, very clearly Tata are ready for it in terms of their engineering. So, yeah, so that's about it in terms of all of the questions we have. Again, apologies once again in case we've not been able to answer all of your questions. We know we haven't, but please keep them coming in. We try and keep answering as many as we can through podcasts like this, which we do periodically. We do also have something called AAA, which is Ask Autocar Anything. You can get onto our website, which is autocarindia.com, and ask us a question, anything automotive. I should add the fourth A, Ask Autocar Anything Automotive. We will try our best there as well to get back to you with answers, and all those answers are posted up onto the website. So once again, thank you for listening in and watching. Remember to tune in again, same time next week, Saturday, 11 a.m. is when we go live on YouTube, and you can also catch us on Apple and, of course, Spotify. So thanks again.